We need to normalize being unhappy in marriage and not always trying to do something about it. I used to think that being married was just going to be like eternal bliss and satisfaction and cupcakes and rainbows and fantasy land, right? Because that's what we see in the rom-coms and that's what we see in media. And honestly, it's not to say that you should not have excitement or satisfaction or to love the person that you're with, but to expect that you're going to be happy every single day, all the time, it's kind of unrealistic. And though there are a small majority of couples that probably will live in a state of constant happiness for the most part, constant satisfaction, because they have what I would call like a set of tools and resources that may not be available to average couples, right? But most of us, we are going to have some strife. We're going to have some disagreements. This is the person that you're doing life with. You lived your whole life with your siblings and y'all was knucking and bucking, rolling and brawling, fighting and fussing, kicking and screaming. And now you're doing life with somebody that you love in a whole completely different way. You're raising kids together. You're doing everything together. And not only that, you're sharing common responsibilities. And even if your values are aligned, there's going to be times where you disagree. And I'm not saying that your disagreements have to be a Southern brawl, but I'm just saying that they're going to come up. And so what I find is a lot of us think that when we get to this point of feeling unsatisfied, or when we get to this point where there's no happiness, or we get to this point where we're tired of this person, or like, I want out. It's probably normal to want out every now and then. How many times you want to move out your parents' house because they was on your nerve, but you didn't, because where you gonna go? How many times did you want to, like I said, like you probably have friends that you've had disagreements with and you didn't talk to them for some time. The difference is when you disagree with your husband, or like when you disagree with your wife, y'all live in the same house. You better go in your corner, I'm gonna go in mine. Like, where you gonna go? Where you going? Because I'm going with you. But all that to say, I think that we need to normalize this idea that there's not always going to be eternal sunshine in our relationships. And when you think about the purpose of your marriage, it's not to necessarily make you happy. It's to honor God. And so when we come into those moments, what you do in those moments and how you handle those moments is really important, because they can make or break the bond that you do have. And I think it's also important to remember, if you're not talking to other people who are married and have gone through the same things, you'll probably be looking at like social media and other couples that you don't really know on a deeper level. And you might think that because they're showing you their happiness and their high points, because who's going to show you when they're arguing? Who's going to show you when they're fighting? Nobody. It's unrealistic. So because you're seeing everybody else be happy and functional and, oh my gosh, they don't have these kind of problems, you don't know what the people got. You really don't. And so a lot of it comes from the comparison factor too. A lot of it comes from just being ill prepared and having unrealistic expectations. But sometimes you're going to be unhappy and you don't really need to do anything about it. Go pray. Reflect on what you're doing. Reflect on your part. Sometimes you just need to accept things as they are and move on. Sometimes you need to accept that your husband is this way and this is the man that I married and I don't need to change him, and you need to move on. And I'm not saying to be miserable. I'm not saying to accept, because somebody gonna get in the comments like y'all do. I'm not saying to accept things that are dangerous to you, but I'm saying that you marry this person, you've accepted this person, be with this person, because that's exactly what they are. They're human. They're not perfect. You're not even perfect. And sometimes we hold people to unrealistic standards. We hold our relationships to unrealistic standards. We expect things from our relationships that we don't necessarily need to expect from them. And it doesn't get any better by you leaning into the woe is me. I'm so unhappy. What am I going to do? I need to choose myself, because then I don't really know where that ends for some people, but it's probably not good. Anyway, if you listen this far, friend, if you were on the list for Wifey Bingo, you probably got the email already. VIP access to Wifey School is now open. If you did not get the email and you downloaded Wifey Bingo, check your email, because it's in there. If you check your email and you don't see it, it's because you weren't on the VIP list. So you'll have to wait until Friday. But it does open up for general enrollment on Friday. So you'll be able to enroll from Friday until enrollment closes. And it's 3 different tiers, because I know people have different needs. So Wifey School comes with your notebook and the associated material for the notebook. This is an interactive notebook. It has exercises in it for a set of 31 days. We have 5 meetings every week. We have one meeting every week, so a total of 5 meetings for the program. We meet, we have conversations about kind of some struggles, some things that we should be doing, some things that we are doing that aren't really serving us. It's a community of other women who are going through similar things and who also just want to invest in their marriages. Now, if you don't have the time to commit to the classes, you can also just get the journal on its own. That does not come with any meetings or any access to the meetings or the classroom settings, but it does come with the notebook and the classroom materials. And then if you don't want to do that, you can also download the notebook. Now, when you download the notebook, you're going to be responsible for printing it yourself. If you don't want to print it, you can also just work out of your own notebook. So I did want to leave different options for people based on their needs. Also based on just what you can afford, because I don't think that I didn't want to shut it off from people completely. I wanted to make sure that there was something for everybody. So that will be available on Friday. If you're on the VIP list, it's available to you now. You can actually go and grab it for yourself. You can go and enroll in Wifey School. You can go and grab the notebook, or you can go and grab the journal. However, if not, on Friday when it opens up, you will be able to do that. I'm looking forward to seeing y'all soon. And yeah, stop worrying about being unhappy and get married.
So one of my mutuals was talking about marriage and how that's all he grew up around. That's all he knew. And that's the same with me. Like, my parents was married. My parents' siblings all got married. Only one who didn't get married was my mama's brother, who was in a bad accident in the military. And I don't really count him. But aside from that, all of her other siblings got married. All of my daddy's siblings got married. And still are, if they still living, right? Nobody got divorced. I didn't see these horrible examples of marriage growing up, right? It wasn't even until I went to school that I realized everybody's parents wasn't married, that everybody didn't have their mama and daddy living in the house with them. It blew my mind when I went to school and realized that there was people who didn't have their daddy living in the house with them. Because I could not imagine coming home and my daddy not being there every day. Like, that just was not going to work, me not seeing my daddy every day. Like, having to go visit him coming to visit me, pick me up on weekends. That was not going to work. Not the way I love my daddy. That was not going to work. It just blows my mind for a group of people who barely seen marriage have such issues with it. Like, how can you have issues with something you never seen? Your mama was not a married woman. You never even got to see it firsthand. How can you really tell somebody how horrible something is when you speaking from the outside looking in, right? You outside of the club, you can't even get in. You never even seen a proper marriage before. And you somewhere telling everybody all of these horror stories about these examples that you seen from a third party experience. You somewhere using examples of celebrities, people who cousins, brothers, sisters, aunt that you knew, right? But nothing that you know firsthand. Nothing that you know firsthand. Nothing in this life comes without there being some type of risk involved. However, y'all don't have a problem with most risks that you have to take. When you sit there and you raw dogging people that you ain't never seen a my chart for, never seen no type of medical records, you don't know what they might possibly have, yet you're not using no protection, seem like you ain't got no problem with taking risks there. Anytime you're applying for a job, updating a resume, getting all of that stuff together just to apply for a job that you don't even know whether or not you're going to get, that's a risk you taking. When you sit there and get pregnant by somebody, you don't know whether or not you're going to lose your life in the process of that pregnancy. You don't know whether or not you're going to end up with a healthy child. You don't know that when you give birth to that child, whether or not you will even like that child, or if that child will even like you. But all of those risks, you don't have no problem with taking, but somehow marriage is where you draw the line. You can't even buy something like a house or a car with a 100% guarantee that it's going to last forever and that there's never going to be any issues with it. You buy a house, furnace might go out. The central air might go out. Things around the house going to break. You'll have to call people to fix it. Car, transmission might go out. You need new tires. There's nothing in this life that you can get that does not come with risk and possibilities of there not being something that may come up in the process that may need fixing, might need work. But again, marriage is where you draw the line. That's the only thing that you want 100% guarantee that there won't be any problems, no issues, and that it's going to be 100% great all the time. Otherwise, you're scared of taking the risk to do it. Half of most of y'all problems with marriage is just the fact that you're ignorant to it, right? You ain't never seen a good example of it. You don't know nothing about it. And you just speaking from what you done heard other people say, or the people that you sit up and hear complaining about it all the time. I done told y'all this before. Most happy people in marriages don't come to y'all to talk to y'all about it. You know why? Because they know one thing. Y'all don't like to see people happy and married. That's the first thing. If you smart and you in a good marriage, keep it away from most people. Because most people, because they don't have it, they're not truly going to be happy to see you have it. So yeah, that's probably why you see so many more bad examples of marriage than you do good. Because the ones who have a good one don't really like to bring it to y'all. Because what? Then you want to take their husband? You want to see whether or not he gonna treat you the way he treat his wife? It's just so much weird stuff that y'all have going on when a good marriage is presented in front of you. And even when you see one, you pick it apart and don't believe that it could truly be good because of all of the negativity and the projection from you and your bad experiences and the things that you done seen. So why would a happy person that's married want to bring it around a bunch of negative, bitter, jealous people and tell them about how happy and married they are while you sit somewhere and try to figure out how to bring that situation down, how to try to take it and break it apart, or to try to nitpick it and make it seem like it's not as good as it actually is? Truth is, a lot of y'all elevator don't go all the way to the top, right? Because anytime you will ever sit up and justify having kids over marriage, the elevator is definitely getting stuck on the floor, right? It's definitely stuck about at the third floor, and it ain't going all the way up. It's stuck. And there's no reason to have a conversation with anybody who could justify kids over marriage. Anytime you hear that, run, because the elevator is stuck. The elevator is stuck. And you really don't even need to stick around and find out why the elevator broke.
I am an unmarried woman on purpose that likes to give married people advice. It used to be unsolicited, but not anymore, because Dr. Will Gonzalez says, no, you don't invite yourself into those conversations. You wait for people to ask for help. You mind your business. Whatever's happening, you just watch quietly. And that's what I do now. But several times when I'm imparting my advice, people that don't listen and lack critical thinking skills will say to me, why would I listen to you? You're not married. And to those folks, I say, do you know who Phil Jackson is? And they never know who Phil Jackson is. I said, do you know who Michael Jordan is? And of course, immediately they know who Michael Jordan is, the greatest basketball player in the world. And I say to them, Phil Jackson successfully led Michael Jordan to 6 championships, 6 rings, never stepping foot on the court. Okay? Greatest coach of all time. 11 championships. 11 rings under his belt. Greatest in the motherfucking NBA. Fact check me right now if you want. The greatest of all time. I say this to say I'm Phil Jackson, bitch. Listen to me. Look at y'all married looking dumb because you want to be a pick-me so bad, huh? Look at y'all oblivious to each other's needs, married for life. That shit's for life. Look at y'all. But it's the new age, so you're about to get divorced in 72 hours after getting married. Embarrassing, huh? Because you want to be pick-me-sha so bad, huh? Dummies, listen.
Hello. Welcome to my round table. And I want to have this little discussion. It's sitting in my spirit. It's bothering my spirit as it pertains to marriage. It's just me, but I notice, married couples are hiding their spouses. They don't want to talk about their marriage. We don't want to champion marriage. Seems like marriage is bad. Marriage is all the different stuff. And so no one really want to get married. That's a lie. That's a lie. Marriage is challenging. It doesn't matter who you're married to. It's a lot of work. I've been married for 20 years. And let me tell you something. There were days in my marriage, there were seasons in my marriage when I wanted to run as far as I could from my husband, from my spouse. Marriage is a commitment. Marriage is a choice. It's a lot of work, but it is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing when a man and a woman come together. So I don't see why we're hiding our marriage. And when someone, in social media posts up about their husband or posts up about their wives, we get all upset. Like go sit down somewhere. No, honey, listen. If you are watching my video, post about your man, post about your woman, show off your marriage, show off your love. Because guess what? It is not perfect. There are days when there's ups and downs. My first year in my marriage was so rough. I don't know how I made it to 20 years. It's nothing but God and prayer, because my first year was so rough. I share it all the time with newlyweds or those that are my premarital counseling. It was rough. It was a lot of work, but marriage is work. It's not bad. Don't let no one have you to think, oh, marriage is a bad thing. That's a lie. It's good to come home to someone. It's good to have, you being accountable for somebody else. It's good to build together. It's good to laugh together. It's nice to put your dress on and have him to zip up the back of your dress or to just help you to fix your shoe. It is beautiful. There are going to be days when you question it because it's marriage, but it's not misery. It's not misery. And if you have the season of misery, work out that season. Walk out that season. There are gonna be some times when it's kind of miserable because you're uncomfortable. The two becoming one. You're not necessarily agreeing like you should. It's that season. Don't mean that you walk away from it. Don't mean that it's unhappy. Don't mean that you get on social media and let everybody think, oh, marriage is bad. Marriage is not bad. It is desirable for singles. God ordained it. It is good. Marriage is very, very good. The ups is good. The down is good. The hurt and every different thing that we get in the marriage, it's all good, because you got to work it out. You got to stay in it. You got to stick it out, and you got to make sure that that thing is working. You can't just get up and just say, oh, it's not working, I'm going about my business. Just hang in there. It gets better. It gets better over time, because over time you get to know each other. But it is good. Don't let anyone shut you down from posting your beautiful pictures, your nice vacation. You take a vacation with your husband or your wife, post your pictures. Post your pictures. Don't worry about likes. Post your pictures. The same-sex marriage folks are doing it. The mixed marriages are doing it. Everybody else doing it. Post up your pictures. Post up your pictures. Love on your spouse. Husband, love on your wife. Wife, love on your husband. I'm thinking about it. I said, too many of us are not out there championing this thing, this beautiful thing called marriage. If it was up to me, I would have been gone. If it was up to my husband, he would have been gone. But with much work, much prayer, we're sticking it together, working it out day by day. When you see us, you do not see a perfect marriage. When you see myself and my husband, you see a couple that God is working on and working with daily. And we are allowing him to work with us daily. Not perfect. Nothing about it is perfect. But we have made a decision to strive towards perfection and build together and love each other every single day. You be blessed.
I don't know how many times I've gotten on this app and talked about marriage, but I don't mind being her. I think there is a demonic agenda against marriage, specifically men and women coming together in holy matrimony to simply destroy the devices of the enemy. Scripture says, one shall put to flight 1,000, two shall put to flight 10,000. And marriage is the natural covenant that God has instituted to have dominion and subjugation. In Genesis, I believe, 1-2, or chapter 2, he said, be fruitful, be multiplied, subdue the earth, and have dominion. That is where the covenant of domination comes into manifestation, through the manifestation of marriage. And so there is a demonic agenda towards those of you that are married, so that you hate your spouse, feel a way about that person. There's a demonic agenda against those of you that are not married, so that you don't get married, and that you think that this is somehow God's will for you to remain single. It's not, unless you have explicitly heard from the Holy Spirit and there is a contentment around singleness. It is not God's will for you to be alone. It's the one thing that he said is not good. In Genesis, it is not good for man to be alone. So why are you the exception to the rule? And then thirdly, I think when people, going back to the married folks, there is this like demonic agenda to have couples fight each other as opposed to fight darkness. It's like this weird competition that sneaks into marriages where God is not yoking subordinate women and dominant men. That's not how it works, right? He's putting together two that walk together because they agree. He's putting together two oxes to plow the field of his harvest. And the thing about two oxes is that they have the same strength. Now, obviously, men and women are not the same. We have different manifestations of the same strength. But what is I've been witnessing and some of the coaching work that I do, and just in some conversations I've been engaged in, is you'll have these men who are brilliant, intelligent, wise, kind, and then you have these women who are equally so. But because we as society have tried to put men in a box, right, and men have put themselves in a box through their natural egos and how they operate within relationship with one another, you're often going to get intimidation from men, and that intimidation from men causes them to want to stifle the wives that God has given them. The wives build resentment against these men, and then they manifest Jezebelically, because then they try to control their husband. It's really sick. It's really demonic, and it's really not God, and it's really Satan trying to entangle himself into holy and righteous marriages where two people, the man and the woman, are called in righteous order according to Ephesians 5 to subdue the earth. Jesus needed his bride, the church, and when I say need, obviously you can put anybody in the bride or in the church, right? So need is like a subjective terminology here, but Jesus chose to utilize his bride as his weapon of warfare against the onslaught of the enemy upon this earth realm. How much more is the husband or the wife going to be the weapon of warfare that God uses in a marriage to defeat darkness and hell, and the husband be that head? And so I think there's an attack on marriages, and that's the point of this whole lovely rant. And if your marriage has been under attack, if you have a desire to get married and it's like, what is going on? One, I cast down every spirit of shame that will try to cover you in your desire to get married. Marriage is your portion unless the Lord himself has explicitly told you no, and by his grace you will find the spouse, or the spouse will find you. And every veil that has been put over your eye, every altar that is speaking against your marital promise, I curse it by the blood of a higher priesthood, the rod of a higher priesthood, and I declare that marriage is your portion in this year and the years to come. If you are married and you've been noticing a lot of contention in your marriage, I just declare that the grace of God would come, and that the tenderness of your hearts would yield to the wisdom of the Holy Spirit, and that your husband would stand in the role of the priest of his home and would declare what thus saith the Lord over his household, and that wives, you would submit to your husband as unto the Lord, and that you would be the helpmeets that are required to take territorial dominion according to the mind of Christ regarding your union.